clear.
Oh, okay. We got a late
Yeah,
start.
so you keep talking and I'll try and get the recorder
Okay.
going.
Well, hi, everybody. Revolution Radio is my family here on planet Earth. We're with Brian Rue of Canada, and I'm of the United States of America. And we are coming to you live from New York. No, actually, I don't know where we're coming in from.
LA. Well, I'm from Vancouver, BC, Canada. And what part of Florida are you in?
I'm in the Panhandle near Pensacola, the Pensacola Naval Air Base that we just had something happen here recently. So right here in the Panhandle of Florida. I don't know if you're familiar with the way it hangs down, but we just had a tornado. I'm actually glad to be alive. I actually heard it and go over about 1 o'clock this morning. So glad to be alive. Can you hear me? Can you see
in fact,
me?
in the chat, Karen says, we hear you, Theresa.
Oh.
And Philip says, attaboy, Brian, Karen, yay. Yeah, they hear us fine.
Good.
Although I cannot access Skype in order to record this right now. Like when I turn on Skype, I get a blank screen for some reason.
Oh, okay. Turn subtitles on. Do you want me to, can you see me?
No, actually.
Okay, well, let me see if I can see
Your camera's on, right?
Yes, my camera's on, and I can record it, I guess. I'll record it.
Oh, yeah, why don't you hit the record button?
Okay, turn on. Uh-oh, it said turn off. Oops, sorry, folks. Well, that was
you know how to record
incoming
on Skype?
video.
You know how to record on Skype, Theresa?
Never have, but
you see in the bottom right, there's 3 dots. Do you see that?
Yeah.
That's a menu. Open the menu. At the top, it says recording.
It says turn. It must be recording. It says blur my background.
No, you don't want that one.
Okay, audio and video settings. Oh, I see me now. But let's see.
Well, there's more than one menu. There's the 3 dots, which opens up a menu with 5 items, and at the top it says recording. You click on the button. Do you see the recording button?
On the top.
Well, maybe it's different for you, right? It might be different for me too.
Well, it shows my light and it shows you, but in a.
Do you actually see me?
Yeah.
I don't even see myself. Am I good looking?
You're a nice looking man. Yes, you're very, very, very nice skin. I wouldn't say brown and I wouldn't say white, but considerable melanin in your skin and dark black hair maybe and black eyebrows.
No, it's brown.
But you're small. Is it dark brown?
It's dark brown, yeah. I was blonde when I was 5 years old.
Oh, I wonder why we have a bad recording today, but you're a very nice looking young man. You're of German descent, right?
That's German descent, yeah. My parents are both from Holland. Aruba is a German word for stillness and quiet.
Stillness and quiet.
And like be quiet, yeah.
But you can hear me, but we're recording for Revolution, but maybe we're not supposed to be videoed, but I'm here, and I don't know.
Well, the first half an hour was video recorded. It's right there in your chat. If you open your chat, the first half hour video is already there, so it worked fine. And I've done this countless times before, record while we're doing audio. But sometimes there's glitches. But the problem with Skype, you should be able to find how to record. There's nothing wrong with your Skype, is there?
Oh, I'm recording. It says stop. I won't stop, but I just don't know if it's getting you. I don't know how to make your picture bigger. Can you tell me how to?
Well, that's irrelevant. The recording automatically does 1/2 you, 1/4 Revolution Radio, 1/4 the other person. So probably since you hit the recording button, likely the 1/2 is you. Is the red light on saying that Theresa's recording?
Yes, 4 minutes
then that's
into
it. Then that's it. We just continue the show. Everything's working 100%. It's not necessary for me to see, right? What difference is as long as you can see me, right?
Yeah, I see.
Then everything's fine. It's not necessary for me to see you or myself. I mean, I do admire myself, and I like to have mirrors to see myself, but I can survive for the next hour and 20 minutes without seeing myself.
Okay, well, I can see you. You're in the middle of my screen. Oh, this is your picture.
I'm in the middle of your life. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead. So carry on
but
with
that's
your
okay.
story there, TJ.
Well, I don't know if we have to start all over again, but basically, I've been a contactee since I was born, I guess. I was born into this. I could tell a story if people are interested because I
Please
believe
do.
but see, this is just going to be a philosophy and opinion based on experience because you like to deal with our UFO association, and we're redoing that for 2020 to have several topics, including ET contact movement and the ufology are those that study the unidentified flying objects that we share as what we think is unidentified flying objects. Right
Yeah.
now, we were discussing that John Greenwald. Do you know him of the Black Vault? John
No,
Greenwald.
but I've definitely heard of him, but I haven't studied his work. Yeah.
All right, he has me in there from years ago from Canada, back when I was sharing classifications and excuse me, somebody just wrote to me. And I can see things in my computer that sort of was funny. It's opposite of what somebody's doing there. But anyway, I just had Jan Aldrich on with me on my show on TJ Mars ET Radio, and you've been on there a couple of times, Brian, at least twice. Once
Yeah.
with Jan Aldrich, and we're doing our best to get information from around the world and how we can all start comparing our experiences and our sightings, and many have been recorded in newspapers. And
Yeah.
so he and Barry Greenwood and many people have worked in the past with CUFO, Central of UFO Studies, the Center for UFO Studies, including myself, Dr. J. Allen Hynek. But I didn't
Yeah.
work for him, but he asked me to continue his work as a person on an airplane, not a UFO. I
That's
met,
impressive. So you actually met Dr. J.
yes,
Allen Hynek?
I did. I
Well, what
did.
year did he die?
1986, I believe.
Wow, because he's such a legend, one of the most legendary figures in ufology. Just for the audience, you can describe. He worked for the government to debunk UFOs, and around 1966, he said, "Okay, I'm going to stop lying and just tell the truth. They exist. Okay, off my back."
Oh, okay. So
So it's around that time.
he saw me reading a book. I was in a jet, and he passed by me, and I was reading "Aliens Among Us" or either "Strangers." What was it? I know it's by Ruth Montgomery because I was embarrassed to take it on the plane. So apparently, it was to be recorded as a memory for the future in my own experience. "Aliens Among Us" by Ruth Montgomery, I believe, was the name of the book. But he walked to the front of the plane, and then he walked back, and it was a few minutes, and then 15 or 20 minutes, maybe. I guess he had to get up the nerve to come back through, but he came back through the front, maybe to get a drink or something. I don't remember the details, but he came back by and he said, "Excuse me, do you believe in that?" And I said, "What?" And he said, "The book you're reading." So I flipped it. I remember flipping to look at the name of it and went, "Oh, well, we could talk about that, but
Wow,
I,
wow, what a meeting! Wow.
uh, he asked me to come to the back of the plane to
Wow.
talk with him about it. And I said, "Well, why do you want to talk about it?" But I
Did you
felt
know who he
awkward.
was?
I had no idea who he was.
Wow.
And I felt awkward. So I let it drop. But he came back up and leaned on the arm and said, "I'd really like to talk to you." So there's nothing to do for whatever hour it was. And I'd really like to talk to you. So I said, "Well," he said, "Please, if you'll come back here, there's an empty seat right across from me." And it was where the restrooms were. And he was in the back, and I asked him why he had to sit back there. Wasn't it uncomfortable because he can't lean back this seat? And he
Yeah.
said, "Well, maybe, but I'd rather have that because of the safety involved." So he explained
Well, I know.
it
I'm
was,
a pilot myself. I know as a pilot, you know you're safe in the back of the plane. Generally,
oh,
like two-thirds back, not at the very back. In case the plane crashes, you got a lot of crush factor at the front, you see.
well, yeah, and I don't know, maybe he couldn't get one, two or three seats ahead of that. I don't know. I just know he said safer back there. So that was his choice. So that's when we sat there. And then he asked me what I did and was very shocked because I was uh, government. I was an investigator at the time, which I don't know if it was a plan for him to meet me. You never know about this stuff because I had a lot of
Yeah.
men
Well,
in
what
black in
year
my
was
life.
this?
I don't remember
Well,
because
what decade was this?
well, it was 80 to 93 was during the time I was flying, 80
And
to
he died in
94 when I was
86, you
flying.
said? He
It was
died
some,
in 86.
yeah, he was sometimes between 1980 and 94
No,
because
no, no. I think you didn't see him after he died, right?
no, not
So
in
he died
this
in
reality.
86.
Hmm.
So therefore you saw him before he died.
Right.
So you
Yeah.
saw him from 1980 to 86. That's good enough for the Brian Roos show.
Well, thank you. Yeah, the reason is it wasn't important to me then. It only became important to me recently because I was trying to write a book and putting all of the experiences I had together because I'd been asked to more over dying, life after death,
Yeah.
than anything to do with UFOs. I wasn't interested. My brother was, interesting enough, Charles Houston Thurmond, from 1959 in October. He kept a book, and I made fun of him as a child, even though I was the one that had. Maybe he had UFO experiences. I don't remember,
Oh,
but I do know that I watched Sputnik go over, and I had this Taken experience going up, like the little
wow.
movie Taken with Steven Spielberg. As a matter of fact, I got asked to speak and do a paranormal panel at one of the Mid South conventions at Memphis Hilton in
Wow.
2016
Wow.
because I was this little girl like in Taken, and my family the name was Thomas, and we lived in Lubbock, or my sister lived in Lubbock, and my grandson. So we put the Lubbock lights and the Lubbock story together, and how I had my uncles working at White Sands, and in the second grade I went to visit them
Yeah.
in White Sands, and they worked at Los Alamos. So the UFO stories started making sense, but we weren't allowed to talk about them because uh, the children, I had a 12-year-old and I think a 10-year-old boy and a 12-year-old girl, somewhere right in there was a relative cousins. I never saw them again, but they were there, and um, one uncle worked there, and one uncle came when during the NASA days later and stayed with my parents in Houston, where I grew up, and my husband that I married worked there at NASA. So all of these UFO stories weren't supposed to be known or put together by the men in black, but I joined the government in May 10th, 1967.
Can
And
I
that,
just interrupt for a second?
sure.
I'm still dying to hear the end of the story. I don't think you finished the story. Well, what was the name of the book you're reading?
Oh, I jumped tracks. I'm very well known for that. And I don't know if that's my programming or just me. I apologize. Okay. The name of the book, I believe the one that I was reading.
Well, when you met him on the plane. Yeah, finish the
Oh, go
story on the
back to that.
plane.
I believe it was Aliens Among Us. That's the name of the
Okay.
book, Aliens
Yeah.
Among Us by Ruth Montgomery. I believe if I have to see what year that was because I think it was brand new. But she was writing to me. I had
Yeah,
some
but tell us the story. Finish the story. For
well,
the audience, give us his name again.
J. Allen Hynek,
Yeah, J.
H-Y.
Allen Hynek. You know, there's a brand new TV show about him. Did you know that? I think it's by History Channel or Discovery. And Richard Dolan's got some episodes talking about it. They're dramatizing his life story now.
I
J.
like
Allen
Richard
Hynek.
Dolan. I follow Richard Dolan. I read his book and had him on my radio show once or twice. I liked his wife, Karen. Karen and I got to be friends for a while. She came on my
Oh,
radio show. Yeah.
I want to hear that
Oh,
story, but we should finish J. Allen Hynek, right? So you met this
oh.
historical figure in the 1980s on the plane, and he wanted to talk to you. You didn't know who he was. So you haven't finished the story yet.
Well, he talked to me about aliens or me and he wanted to hear my story. So I told
Of
him
course.
about, as a child being taken up. And he asked me what I called them. I said angels, because that's what I called them. I didn't know about extraterrestrials and all that, and then he asked me real pertinent questions. So then he asked me, uh, what happened when I died, and then I
Yeah.
told him, and that I went to White Sands, and he asked me if I saw him again, and I said, yeah, I saw him in White Sands, and he was he was like, you know, he was mesmerized. He had glasses on, and he was just listening very intently, and then had asked me a question. So he asked me how I got there, and I said, well, my uncle brought me. I had hepatitis in the second grade, and that I had these beings that came like orbs, and they were like in Wizard of Oz, because at the time I had no way to describe them. So I had watched the Wizard of Oz, and Glinda came in a bubble. If you've ever seen Wizard of Oz. Now, some people say that anybody like me that's had experiences could be programmed, but I was using these as an analogy or metaphor, right? That she came, so these beings came down in gold like an orb, and I had at hepatitis fallen back and fainted. But these beings, after I came to, stood me up and went away again. And then once I died during that same time, and they pulled me up out of water, and they'd disappear again, like a just. So I tried to tell him it was like seeing people that come in an orb, but they can come and go and disappear. But I told him that. Then he went on to, well, what did uh, what you were in? What were you in? And I said, well, it was on the ground. It was on the sand this time. But as a child, I couldn't remember what the cloud looked like that I was in, except it looked like, the cloud maybe, because I was too young at 4 or 5. But the second time that I was talking to him about, was on the ground, and it came overhead and put my 2 cousins to sleep in White Sands in the sand dunes, and they fell asleep, and I thought that odd, because they're the ones that told me, hey, look, I think they said a flying saucer, and we were looking at it, and they went to sleep on the dune. We were up in the white sand dune, and I walked down and went in it, and there was a man there, and other beings there. So I got to see some gadgets. And where I lost people years and years ago trying to tell my story was, to me, it was like an education of humans, children, because I saw several other beings there. But I came back out, and I went back up the hill, and they went away. And then the children that were my cousins woke up, and they remembered seeing it, but they didn't remember what happened. So they wanted me to tell them what happened, and my relatives came to get me, looking for me, my grandmother and my aunt and uncle that took me to White Sands. And then they went down and tried to tell their father we saw a flying saucer, and we got in trouble because he worked at Los Alamos, and he said, don't ever say that ever, I'll lose my job. And we got in a lot of trouble, and my grandmother sort of tapped my knee, and she's never, ever, ever laid her hands on me. But when she touched my knee, I remember it because it was like a spanking, but because we wouldn't stop talking about it, because they wanted to hear my story in the car. And anyway, we were never supposed to talk about it ever, ever again. So I grew up until I was in, we went back from we went to see the caves. You know how you go under caves? Carlsbad Caverns. We went to see that. And then we went to see the Indian reservation, and I got Indian fire, and they put me in a circle and healed me because I caught Indian fire, which is like impetigo. But they said something because it was really bad on my leg from the heat in the summer. I'd gotten like real bad red on my legs, so they fixed it. Then we came back to Monroe, Louisiana, and then my parents divorced, and I had already gotten sick with hepatitis, gone there, come back. Then I go to Houston, and some men come to where I'm twirling fire batons and knives at high school, and they see how ambidextrous I am. So they, are we fixing to take a break? We're fixing to be on a break, Brian. Can you hear me? Did I lose you? Well, we're going to be on a break for a few minutes if anybody can hear me. I've lost Brian. Let me go try to get